probably proven in his track record that he's been successful as to maybe looking at a different, avenue, maybe looking at maybe taking some other steps. I'm not going to say I'm totally against it, because I'm not, but I just want to make sure that at least we see all of the evidence of reform as it relates to get passed.
Yes, sir. Well, if you notice, sir, what I'm asking for is a contract auctioneer's license. Now, you've got to realize, everybody in this room has got to think I'm smart enough to know that if I screw up again, I'll never see the broadside of the auction. Okay? So, my intention is that when I get that debt paid off, which I estimate is going to take me between a year and 18 months, quite frankly, then, and only then, can I even consider the possibility of owning my own auction house. Okay? So I am going to use this as a tool to repay that debt. So, and I can give examples, if you don't mind, sir.
Yes, sir.
My example is, in the 5 years that I've been through hell and back, and people have suffered because of my actions, I have not filed bankruptcy. I have not shed one single debt. I've not walked away from one single thing. Okay, I'm standing up, as best I can like a man. Now, it's tough because I haven't been able to pay them, because I haven't been able to work in the only industry I know. This is what I've done since I was 23 years old.
I understand very much. I mean, the last statement you kind of made before you went on there was, I'm assuming that your intentions is to one day, according to what you just said, to regain an establishment on your business.
Yes, sir.
Which would mean that you'll be taking back the responsibility that your father is doing for you right now.
Yes, sir. When this board feels as I'm prepared for that, that's when that'll happen. Never not doing it.
Okay. Well, I'm just trying to hear out, the methodology by which Mr. Bewley is applying for reinstatement, but then at the same time to consider the options that are out there that are still cloud which you are intending to try to pay back, and you have to work in order to pay them. I respect that very much. I'm not in opposition, but I think we need to maybe consider putting some teeth and some sharpness into whatever we decide to do, whichever way we decide to go when it comes down to the vote itself. Not only just to protect, as fiduciary right, the general public, which we represent, and the auction industry, from things like this to happen again, or potential happen.
I think what you'll find, sir, is that my father, Mr. Malcolm Bewley, and Mr. Dow, the board attorney, I'm quite confident that he would be more than happy to provide records to Ms. Dow as I'm paying down on that debt, and so that you will in fact see when that debt is being paid on and when it's paid off.
And you can get a bond.
I have a question for the attorney. Sure. Has anybody ever filed bankruptcy and still retained their auction license?
Yeah, the bankruptcy itself is not sufficient to annul the license. Obviously, just mishandling of client funds or property, that becomes an issue for the board, and that has been addressed in the past. Actually, Ken, I think your bankruptcy actually was dismissed, so there's...
I withdrew my bankruptcy. I did that in an effort to try to stop the bank from selling all my stuff.
Right.
So his debts were never discharged. The problems with the consignor goods happened prior to bankruptcy.
And you weren't charged criminally?
No, sir. No, sir. I've never been charged criminally.
Because right now it's still pending, correct?
What is?
Whatever criminal activities that could possibly come out of it.
No, sir.
It's been more than 2 years.
It's been 5 years.
5 years.
Well, actually, some felonies can get to 6.
That's civil litigation.
Correct. I'm saying there's still litigations that are pending.
Yeah.
Well, I'm saying
the only thing that's pending, excuse me, sir, I'm sorry.
Well, I just want to say something real quick. If you'd filed bankruptcy, you wouldn't be here. You'd still have your license and stuff. So.
No, that's not correct.
Well, why not?
Because all the items, all the events that occurred prior to the bankruptcy.
Right.
This was a bank. What happened is the bank came in and seized all of the assets, including consignor goods. We got involved in something that appeared to be something like a liquidation or receivership, whereby the bank, after being pointed out that these are third-party goods, they attempted to contact all of the individuals that they had goods from and try to make sure they all got those goods back. Jim actually went over to see all the goods in the, was it 2 warehouses at that time? To try to identify missing goods that had been, people had filed complaints with the board about. So the bankruptcy itself really had very little to do with this whole proceeding. Most of the liquidation and resolution of the issue occurred prior to that going on. And again, it was dismissed at whatever time. I'm having for you. Can I say a couple of things? First of all, make sure we're on the same page. 373121D says that any certificate or license suspended, revoked, or otherwise restricted by the board may be reinstated by majority vote of the board. That is where we are. If the board decides today to reinstate his license, I'm again asking that, since it was revoked, that he go through the same testing procedure, et cetera, as a new licensee. Right. If the board decides that they do not want to reinstate his license, then he has a right to ask for a hearing to that effect. Right. And then we would schedule a hearing under our hearing rules to hear his application at that point. There's a couple of things that also I think, Ken, I want to point out to the board. Number one is Ken was on probation when this 2006 event happened because of a complaint by Llewellyn Knowles. Llewellyn Knowles' complaint had been resolved, but he was on probation because that was an allegation of withholding property and not paying or returning the property within the statutorily dictated time. As far as I know, Ms. Knowles, again, that was resolved. There is sales tax that's owing apparently by the Go Antiques deal, but it's showing as under.
It's actually owed by the auction company.
Yes, it's showing as the auction company, but the time period appears. But Ken is telling me that he is trying to work something out, but the parish will not give him documentation as to the payments or what payments have been made.
I have met with him. Can I explain that? Or?
Sure.
I'm sorry. I have met with Ms. Williams down at the city sales tax office and so forth, and the amount of owed tax is very small. Unfortunately, the interest and penalties is like 3 times that amount. But I can start making payments on it. She said that's no problem at all. However, she is not legally able to give me a written, approved city parish payment plan, because in order to have that, you're required to put down 25% of the total amount owed, and quite frankly, I don't have the 25% to put down. So she told me to just start paying on it as soon as I could. But there's no problem. They know, they have all my addresses and phone numbers and all that kind of stuff. So, and I'd like to point out to the board too that also I'm asking for my license to be effective January 1st, which will in fact, as is my father's business license, asking to be effective, which will in fact allow me time to bring this down and prove that Llewellyn Knowles was in fact settled in court.
Yeah, and I do recall that there was a settlement by payment.
Yes, ma'am. I paid a very small amount.
Otherwise, your license may have been revoked earlier for all I know. That's been some time ago. But again, I just wanted to make sure the board was clear on the procedural element of where we are at this point.
I have one quick question.
Yes, ma'am.
Not all of these people on this list, none of these people are here today to speak.
No, ma'am, that's correct.
They're all
That's correct.
okay with it.
We have
Yes,
letters.
And nobody, everybody's all okay with
Yes,
it.
ma'am.
Everybody on this
Except for
list.
Miss Billy Holm, I can't locate. And
Right, I got that.
And in the
He's
meantime,
number two
that's
on the
what we
list, but
intend.
everybody else,
What we intend to do is maintain his money in an escrow account until such time as he
I
can
got
be
it.
located.
Yes, everything that. he
everybody on
claims-
here.
Everything
So
that he claims
all the
on
people
there,
that
I
filed
can verify.
complaints, you can verify they're all okay with him getting his license
According
reinstated.
to
We
what
don't have
they've
any
submitted.
objections, and none of those people came here today. Okay.
Well,
Just wanted to make that clear.
Yeah, were any of them notified as to Mr. Buell's hearing,
It's not a hearing.
well, I mean, his
Reinstatement.
formal reinstatement? Because that's what we're doing here, you know.
Well, there were certainly a few attorneys notified.
Well, I'm
Former
saying,
board member.
because we don't have those records that Mr. Buell took the intent, to notify anyone.
Because he did and was asked to provide letters from various people who filed complaints, but I'm not sure which ones.
Well, I mean, I'm looking at 9, and I only saw 2 documents passed around, so.
I have several
She has
here
all
in
the
this
letters,
file.
too.
They were either emailed to me directly or faxed
Okay,
to me,
because
to
I
the
think I
office.
called and left you a voicemail asking for information concerning Mr. Buell.
I'm sorry, Freddie. My grandmother passed away and I was at the funeral, as I explained to you, when you called. So I was not back at the office to get the documents before today's meeting.
So-
But I do have Janice Gold, Judy Rizzo, I have the Donald Deckner letter, I have Val Horton, I have James Transu. I've got many more, they're just tucked further in because they came earlier.
So, because I mean, I'm not, like I said, I'm not gonna sit back and just hassle out. I would like to know from the past meeting when we revoked this license, I said we at the time, the board did, on the grounds of which, Ms. Down, were you here when that took place? What was the grounds on which the board?
You didn't get that,
Well,
everybody got that mail.
I got that portion of it, but I saw that aspect, but I'm talking about, I wasn't here at the time, I just read the letter, and the minutes don't reflect half of the stuff that go in this meeting, so I would just like to know from Ms. Down.
Well, the judge, you got the judgment and the reasons for judgment?
I got, and I read
Yes.
a portion of it.
Yes,
What
you
happened
got the
was,
final decision and the judgment.
Okay, okay, those were the basic grounds. This was a day-long hearing that we had for these complaints, plural complaints, and that was the final decision and the reasons for judgment that were issued in the case. Short of that, I think we have the transcript. I don't know if we ever actually.
We've got transcripts.
Yeah, we got the transcripts that you're welcome to look at.
yeah.
I mean, they're voluminous, obviously.
Yeah, and that's why I asked, when I saw it on the agenda, I immediately called Ms. Evans, requested some details, information, so that I could, when I sat down here, be a little bit more clear on the whole picture, and not just what's being painted here now.
And I'm sorry, I just
I mean, I
wasn't in the
understand your
office.
grandmother, and I sympathize with that. But I'm just saying, it does not give me as much information as I need to make a decision in any way. And I don't know if anybody else just gonna jump up here and just start making decisions, but at the same time, I think that the information should have been a little bit more detailed than what we have here to be able to make a decision. What I would do is ask the board to table this, Mr. Bueller's reinstatement, until that information has been distributed, at least to me and to, hopefully anybody else who may be concerned before they make their decision. And that's what my recommendation is.
Thank you. Anybody else? I just want to say something real quick. I had a farmer that worked for me that he went out of business for him, and when things got real bad, and he wouldn't take bankruptcy. And for 20 years, that guy paid back every one of those creditors. And matter of fact, a lot of those creditors, when he died, they were at the funeral. And I think when people don't take the bankruptcy way out, there's a respect that I have for people as a business person and stuff like that. And I saw how that old man paid all those people back. And it's in that spirit I'd like to make a motion that we reinstate his license. The teeth of it is, if he does anything wrong, we just take it back away. We got that right to do that. So in that spirit, I make a motion that we reinstate him.
I second
Okay, we have a second. Let's get something clear. Reinstated before it as a contract also.
With the restrictions we're discussing.
So it would be,
I mean, so I need you to restate, if you would, your motion.
Okay, the motion is that it's a contract, we'll reinstate him as a contract auctioneer pending he retest and pass any of the stuff that we have for you to.
Yes, sir.
You get a bond.
pending
Get a
retest
bond.
and bond.
And then he would remain working only for his bond.
Well, no, not as a contract auctioneer.
I would also like permission to work with Mr. Marvin Henderson
Yeah.
as well.
So are we gonna give,
He would
with
be
what floor?
contract
Yes, ma'am.
Are we gonna give, because I'm thinking this is the way he's gonna pay his debt back, by working for his father, where he would get the most of his money, not outside of that arena. Now, if we're gonna give him a green light as a contract auctioneer to go to whoever calls him, then I think we need to really consider. I mean, I don't have a problem on that side of it, but if we're gonna go beyond that scope and
What
not.
about if he reports in, like he's gonna work for anybody besides Marvin Henderson or his father, he reports in, says what he's gonna do. So we have a record of it.
Which we do already have a letter on file from Henderson Auctions that's already withholding.
Right.
No, again,
Are
let
you
me
good with
state
that,
for the
Chris?
record.
So you only
Yes,
work
ma'am.
for Ken, for Marvin?
No, for Mac or for Marvin.
Right. For Marvin,
Anything other
anybody
than that,
else
I have to report
that
into the
comes
board.
in, you have to report in. What else?
Well, I'm gonna.
I'll make that motion.